The Martian dust storm hadn't let up for 3 days. But Zephyr Martinez couldn't have been happier. Bad weather meant the uppity alien tourists stayed in their climate-controlled hotels, leaving her to work in peace. Plus, their fancy ships always dropped more interesting pieces during rough landings. "Would you look at that beauty," she muttered, hauling a twisted chunk of iridescent metal from beneath a drift of red sand. The quantum crystalline alloy probably cost more than she'd make in a year, but some overpaid Zentari engineer had tossed it because of a microscopic crack. All their loss. Her gain. The piece joined hundreds of others in her anti-grav cart, which she'd cobbled together from 7 different species cast-off tech. The Galactic Council's safety inspectors had nearly had an aneurysm when they saw it. Apparently, mixing Raxon power cells with Malorian field generators was highly inadvisable and a violation of at least 12 regulations, but hey, it worked better than anything they could buy new. A familiar chime echoed through her helmet comm. "Incoming priority message from the Galactic Trade Commission," her AI assistant announced. She'd named it Dave, definitely almost virtuous entity, after reprogramming it from a discarded custom scanner. "Patch it through, Dave. This ought to be good." Mechanic Martinez, the Zentari official's hologram, flickered with barely concealed disdain. "Our sensors indicate you are collecting restricted materials again. This is your final warning. Humans lack the neural capacity to safely handle quantum crystalline technology." Zephyr made a show of examining the restricted alloy in her hands. "Funny, looks pretty handled to me. But hey, if you want to file another complaint, it'll look great next to the other 73 in my workshop. I framed those, you know, really ties the room together." The Zentari's facial tentacles writhed in frustration. "Your species' primitive humor does not change galactic law. Any further violations will result in..." Yeah, immediate confiscation and probable exile to a pre-industrial world. "You know what's really funny?" She held up the alloy. "This dangerous piece you tossed? It's part of a quantum inversion manifold. The crack you were so worried about? It's supposed to be there. It's a calibration channel." The hologram stuttered. That's impossible. Our engineers." "Your engineers," Zephyr said, grinning beneath her helmet, "should try actually fixing things instead of just replacing them. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got work to do. Dave, end transmission." The Martian wind howled around her as she went back to salvaging, humming an old Earth tune. Let them think humans were primitive. Let them throw away their broken tech. They'd figure it out eventually, probably around the same time they realized why so many of their ships had started performing better after emergency repairs at her shop. Her cart was nearly full when she spotted something promising buried in a dune, a glint of blue-black metal that definitely wasn't local. Probably another piece of garbage that would turn out to be perfectly functional with a little human ingenuity. The Galactic Council might think Earth was the backwater of the universe, but they'd never understood a simple truth. Sometimes the best view of how something worked came from the bottom up. "Time to head in, Dave," she called, securing her latest finds. "We've got some impossible things to build." The Galactic Council's emergency broadcast interrupted every screen and hologram across Mars colony. Zephyr watched from her workshop as High Counselor Kathax, all 8 eyes blinking in perfect synchronization, delivered the news that would change everything. Due to repeated violations of safety protocols and unauthorized modifications of restricted technology, the Council has unanimously declared humanity unfit for interstellar travel privileges, Kathax announced, mandibles clicking with barely concealed satisfaction. Effective immediately, all faster-than-light capable vessels are prohibited from human ownership or operation. Additionally, a complete embargo on quantum-grade technologies will be enforced. "Well, that's inconvenient," Zephyr muttered, tossing a quantum spanner from hand to hand. Around her, scattered across workbenches and hanging from ceiling-mounted anti-grav clamps, hundreds of alien machine parts hummed and pulsed with forbidden energy. Dave's voice crackled through her workshop speakers. "Incoming group call from the Terran Mechanics Underground Network." The holoscreen split into dozens sections, each showing a different grease-stained face. These were Earth's best mechanics, the ones who kept humanity's salvaged tech running despite the Galactic Council's best efforts to obsolete them. "You seeing this garbage?" Zephyr Chang's hologram gestured angrily with a phase wrench. "They're trying to ground us completely. Already got 3 clients canceling their repairs, added Dr. Patel, her Delhi workshop visible behind her. They're scared of the fines. Zephyr leaned back in her chair, a dangerous smile spreading across her face. So, who wants to make a bet? The other mechanics went quiet. They knew that tone. I've been studying these worthless parts they keep throwing away, she continued, walking over to a holographic display. Watch this. Her fingers danced across the controls, bringing up schematics of seemingly random components. See anything interesting? They're all damaged in similar places, Dr. Patel said slowly, leaning closer to her screen. Not damaged, Zephyr's grin widened. Modified. Every single piece that gets thrown away as defective has these same marks. They're not mistakes, they're connection points. Rico whistled. You think they're designed to work together? Better. Zephyr swept her hand through the hologram, rearranging the parts. I think they're designed to work better together. The Galactic Council's been so focused on keeping their technologies separate, they never noticed the pattern. But look, the schematics merged, forming something new. If you connect them right, using the defects as quantum tunneling bridges. Holy shit, someone whispered. That's a hybrid drive system. More efficient than anything they're currently using, Zephyr confirmed. And we've got warehouses full of the parts they keep throwing away. They'll never let us build it, Rico warned. The embargo. Can't stop what they don't understand, Zephyr cut in. Here's the bet. First one to build a working ship using only garbage tech gets everyone else's best salvage for a year. Who's in? The responses came fast and fierce. Within minutes, credit chits were being transferred into an escrow account, and Dave was calculating the odds. One more thing, Zephyr added as the meeting wound down. Keep this quiet. The council's watching for big movements, but they never pay attention to the small stuff. We work with what we've got, piece by piece. After the calls ended, she walked through her workshop, really looking at her collection. Quantum crystalline alloys that sparked with potential. Milorian power cores humming in harmony. Racks and field generators that pulsed in patterns she'd always dismissed as random. Dave, start mapping every defect we've cataloged. Cross-reference with known ship design, she picked up the piece she'd found in the dust storm. Under the workshop lights, the crack in its surface formed a perfect fractal pattern. I think it's time we showed the galaxy what primitive really means. The AI's response held a note of what might have been excitement. Calculating probable configurations. Would you like me to begin organizing the components by quantum resonance patterns? Yeah, Zephyr held the alloy up to the light, watching colors shift beneath its surface like a promise. And flag any maintenance requests that might bring in more pieces we need. If they want to call us primitive, fine. Let's see how they like it when the primitives build something impossible. Weeks bled into months, as Zephyr's workshop transformed into something that would have given a galactic safety inspector an immediate heart attack, all 3 of them. Quantum crystalline mattresses sprouted from the walls like metallic vines, their fractal patterns pulsing in sync with the modified Milorian power cores she'd suspended from the ceiling. The whole room hummed with energy that, according to every official manual, should have torn the planet in half by now. Fascinating, muttered Zer, a Zentari anthropologist who'd been watching her work for the past week. The human appears to be connecting a Raxon pulse manifold directly to a hegemony waveguide. This should, by all known laws of physics, create a localized singularity. Should Zephyr agreed cheerfully, making the final connection. The components sparked, whined, and then settled into a peaceful harmony. But someone forgot to tell the laws of physics that humans don't read the manual. Dave's voice echoed through the workshop. Quantum resonance at 47% efficiency and climbing. Also, 3 more Galactic Council observation drones just entered Mars orbit. Only 3. I'm insulted. Zephyr wiped grease from her hands and studied the holographic blueprint floating above her workbench. The ship's design looked like something a drunk artist might draw after a lecture on non-Euclidean geometry, all impossible angles and interconnected systems that shouldn't work together but somehow did. The Council has classified your activities as a Level 7 technical heresy, Zer noted, consulting his datapad. That's actually quite impressive. The last level 7 was achieved when the hive mind of Sector 9 tried to digitize a black hole. Gonna have to try harder then. Dave, what's our status on that Void Weaver component we need? Still classified as irretrievably hazardous by all known suppliers. However, I've noted that the Praximian Embassy receives weekly deliveries of similar technology they consistently mishandle and discard. Zephyr grinned. Convenient. Schedule a diplomatic reception cleanup detail for next week. The next few days brought a parade of increasingly agitated alien officials. A Malorian tech priest spent 3 hours trying to convince her that mixing their sacred power cores with lesser technology would anger their gods. She solved that by showing him how her hybrid system actually improved their efficiency by 300%. He left looking like he was having an existential crisis. Warning, Dave announced one morning. Detecting quantum fluctuations in the laboratory sector. Also, Dr. Henderson's cat has again quantum tunneled into the drive chamber. Third time this week, Zephyr muttered, fishing the unperturbed feline out of what should have been a lethal energy field. At least we know the containment works. Put cat-proofing on the checklist. The real breakthrough came when she figured out why alien ships kept their systems isolated. It wasn't about safety, it was about control. Each species' technology resonated at specific frequencies, creating a kind of quantum fingerprint. By keeping them separate, the Galactic Council could always track who built what. But if you mixed them together just right. Energy signature analysis complete, Dave reported. Current configuration registers as background radiation on standard scanners. Perfect. Zephyr stepped back to admire her work. The ship, if you could call it that, occupied a space that seemed to shift when you looked at it directly. Salvaged hull plates from a dozen species created a patchwork exterior that somehow looked elegant in its chaos. The bridge combined racks and neural interfaces with human analog controls, because sometimes you just needed to flip a physical switch. Zara, who'd become a regular fixture in the workshop, shook his head in amazement. The Council's analysts are baffled. Their models show this ship simultaneously cannot exist and should be working better than any drive system currently in use. That's humans for you, Zephyr said, patting a hull plate affectionately. We don't just think outside the box, we take the box apart, reassemble it into something new, and then use it to store spare parts. The final touch was the power core. She'd discovered that the quantum crystalline alloys, when arranged in specific patterns, could amplify energy in ways their original designers had never imagined. It was like they'd been building with only half the instruction manual, never realizing the defects they kept throwing away were actually notes for a better design. Multiple incoming transmissions, Dave announced. The Galactic Council appears to be panicking. Holograms flickered to life around the workshop, showing various officials in states of distress. The Malorian tech priest was back, alternating between offerings of bribes and threats of divine retribution. A hegemony quantum physicist was demanding she explain how she'd bypassed the fundamental laws of energy transfer. 3 different alien corporations were trying to buy her out. Tell them all I'm busy, Zephyr said, making final adjustments to the neural interface. Dave, start pre-flight checks. And let Rico and Dr. Patel know they might want to speed up their projects, once the Council figures out what we've actually built. Message from Zara. Dave interrupted. He says, and I quote, the Council has just classified humans as an existential threat to galactic technological stability. Congratulations. Zephyr laughed, settling into the pilot's seat. The hybrid controls lit up around her, each piece of salvaged tech singing its own note in a harmony that had never existed before. Now that's what I call a positive performance review. Ready to make history, Dave. All systems nominal. Though I feel compelled to note that we are about to violate approximately 2,947 Galactic Council regulations simultaneously. Only 2,947? We must have missed some. She wrapped her hands around controls that shouldn't work together but did, feeling the impossible ship come to life around her. Let's go show them what primitive really looks like. All right, Dave. Zephyr announced to her empty workshop, time to see if we've built the galaxy's most expensive paperweight or... The ship vanished. Then reappeared, upside down, in the cafeteria. Fascinating, Dave commented as alarmed diners dove for cover. We appear to have invented a new form of spatial displacement. Also, we're being billed for 14 ruined lunches. Zephyr hung suspended in her pilot's harness, watching coffee float past in globules. Not quite what I was going for. Emergency shutdown. Nothing happened. Regular shutdown. Regular shutdown. The ship hiccuped and materialized 3 meters to the left, now at a 45-degree angle. A bowl of synthetic noodles phased through the hull. "I'm detecting some quantum resonance issues," Dave reported cheerfully. "The Raxon drive matrix appears to be arguing with the Malorian power core about which direction is forward." "Since when do machines argue about?" The ship blinked again, this time appearing outside the colony dome. Warning klaxons blared as emergency force fields snapped into place behind them. "Wait, that's it. Dave, show me the quantum signatures." The holographic display flickered to life, showing complex waveforms from each alien system. They weren't just incompatible, they were deliberately engineered to be incompatible, each operating on slightly different quantum frequencies. "Override all factory settings," Zephyr commanded, fingers flying across the neural interface. "Force synchronization at. Let's try human brainwave patterns." "That is explicitly forbidden by 17 different." Dave. Adjusting quantum resonance. "Please note that I will deny all knowledge of this if questioned by authorities." The ship's systems pulsed once, twice, and suddenly everything clicked. The discordant alien technology synchronized to a completely new frequency, one that matched the electrical patterns of the human nervous system. The ship stopped its dimensional hiccups and hung steady in the Martian atmosphere. Zephyr punched the air. They designed everything to reject each other's control systems, but they never thought to block frequencies they didn't think could exist. Dave, full power test. Calculating survival probability. Would you like the actual number, or should I just say better than yesterday? Hit it. The hybrid drive engaged with a sound that probably violated several laws of physics. Reality blurred. And they were looking at Jupiter. Travel time 0.3 seconds, Dave reported. Current velocity exceeds all known Galactic Council speed records by approximately 847%. We are also being hailed by 47 different emergency response channels, 3 physics monitoring stations, and what appears to be a very confused pizza delivery ship. Zephyr stared at the giant planet filling their view screen, her mouth open. They'd just crossed a distance that took conventional ships hours, in less time than it took to blink. "Dave," she said slowly, "plot a course back to Mars. Let's give them a proper show." The return trip split the sky over Mars colony like a cosmic ballet. Their impossible ship danced through maneuvers that had the local alien traffic control screaming about violations of conservation of momentum. They came to a perfect stop exactly 1 meter above Zephyr's landing pad, the hybrid drive humming contentedly. "Final system analysis complete," Dave announced. "Power efficiency at 1,247% of projected maximum. Quantum coherence stable. Also, we appear to have accidentally invented 2 new branches of physics." Through the view screen, Zephyr could see a crowd gathering. Alien officials were pointing scanners that probably cost more than Earth's GDP at her ship, getting readings that would keep their scientists awake for decades. Pezer was taking notes so fast his datapad was smoking. "Send a message to Rico and Dr. Patel," she said, unable to stop grinning. "Tell them the bet's still on, but they might want to hurry. Something tells me the Council's about to be very interested in talking about humanity's place in the galaxy." Already sent. Also, incoming priority message from Galactic Council headquarters. Their exact words are, "What did you do?" "Tell them," Zephyr patted her impossible ship's console. "Tell them we read between the lines. The Galactic Council's emergency session was broadcast across every frequency, every network, and every quantum-linked display in known space." High Counselor K. Thax's 8 eyes were blinking out of sync, a sure sign of extreme distress among Xanthari. The human known as Zephyr Martinez K. Thax's mandibles clicked rapidly, has somehow created an abomination that defies all established laws of unified species engineering. Our preliminary scans indicate her vessel's efficiency exceeds our most advanced ships by. 1,247% a Malorian scientist finished, their crystalline form clouded with anxiety. And that's just what we can measure. Some of its operations appear to exist in quantum states we didn't know were possible. Meanwhile, back on Mars, Zephyr was hosting an impromptu teaching session in her workshop. Mechanics from every human colony had crowded in, physically and via hologram, watching as she explained her discovery. The trick isn't making alien tech work together, she demonstrated, connecting a Raxon power coupling to a hegemony field generator. It's making it stop fighting itself. They engineered everything to reject other species' quantum signatures, but human brainwave patterns. They never even considered them a possibility. 3 more successful hybrid drives reported, Dave interrupted. Dr. Patel has achieved 1,124% efficiency with her design, though she claims the color scheme is more aesthetically pleasing than ours. Show off, Zephyr muttered fondly. How many ships are under construction now? Current estimate 732. Also, incoming transmission from Consolidated Galactic Industries. Their latest offer includes 3 solar systems, and what they claim is literal mountains of precious metals. She waved it away. Tell them what I told the last dozen megacorps: humanity's advancement isn't for sale. The workshop's main screen lit up with another priority broadcast. A hegemony quantum physicist was having what appeared to be a professional breakdown. It's impossible. They're using quantum crystalline matrices as resonance amplifiers. The defects we've been discarding for centuries. They're not defects at all. They're interface ports, Zephyr finished along with the broadcast, grinning as she held up a piece of damaged alloy. Hidden in plain sight, just waiting for someone to think differently about compatibility. Warning, Dave announced. Multiple corporate vessels entering Mars orbit, detecting high-level executives, contract lawyers, and what appears to be a religious delegation declaring you a harbinger of the grand technological singularity. Before Zephyr could respond, Rico's hologram burst into existence. They're reverse engineering the designs. Just got word from Luna Base the Xanthari are trying to replicate our quantum synchronization patterns. Let them try, Zephyr laughed. They'd have to completely redesign their neural interfaces. You can't force human pattern quantum resonance through their rigid systems, that's why they never discovered it themselves. The workshop erupted in new activity as more success reports flooded in. A team in Australia had built a hybrid medical scanner that could diagnose across all known species. Someone in Brazil had combined 3 different alien waste processing systems into something that could recycle literally anything. Engineering students at MIT had apparently created a quantum computer that made AI cores like Dave look like pocket calculators. Incoming message from Peaser, Dave reported. Message reads, remember when I classified humans as an existential threat to galactic technological stability? The Council just upgraded that to existential threat to the entire established order of the universe. Additional congratulations. Zephyr was about to reply when every screen suddenly showed High Counselor K-Thax again. The Xanthari leader looked like they had aged several centuries in the past few hours. In light of recent developments, K-Thax announced, mandibles twitching, the Galactic Council hereby. Hereby they seemed to choke on the words. Need some help there, Zephyr muttered. The Council hereby recognizes humanity's unique contribution to galactic engineering and rescinds all previous technology restrictions, effective immediately. The workshop exploded in cheers. Someone popped a bottle of contraband Malorian celebration crystals. Additionally, K-Thax continued, looking pained, we formally request human participation in the Council's technology exchange program. Though we strongly urge you to submit your innovations through proper channels rather than building impossible things from their garbage, Rico suggested. I'm detecting unprecedented levels of panic in upper council management, Dave noted. Also, Dr. Patel is asking if you're ready for Phase 2. Zephyr looked around her workshop at the faces of human engineers and mechanics, all eager to push the boundaries of what alien technology could do. Beyond them, through the viewport, she could see the quantum distortions of more hybrid ships taking flight. Tell her absolutely, Zephyr said. After all, we've got a whole galaxy of junk to work with now. The Galactic Council's Grand Chamber was designed to inspire awe, a massive crystalline dome floating in space, accessible only through carefully regulated quantum gates. Which was why every council member nearly fell out of their gravity seats when Zephyr's ship simply appeared in the center of the chamber. Hope you don't mind us dropping in, her voice echoed through the chamber. Your quantum exclusion barriers needed a tune-up anyway. They're running about 40% below optimal, by the way. This is outrageous, K-Thax spluttered, all 8 eyes spinning wildly. The security systems are state-of-the-art. You mean the Zephyr's ship projected a hologram showing the barrier's quantum matrix? Yeah, about that. Dave, show them what we found in their trash last month. Another hologram appeared, a twisted piece of quantum crystalline alloy that the council members immediately recognized. Several made high-pitched noises of distress. That's a condemned Mark VII quantum manifold, a hegemony representative said. Highly unstable. We discontinued that line centuries ago. Discontinued, or buried? Zephyr's ship rotated, displaying impossible angles that made several council members cover their visual organs. Because when we cleaned up its quantum signature, we found something interesting. Dave. Accessing original design specifications, Dave announced to the chamber. Warning: this information may cause severe philosophical distress to beings invested in maintaining technological hierarchies. The holograms merged, showing the true nature of the defective technology. The chamber erupted in chaos as council members recognized patterns they'd been trained to discard as flaws. Every piece of junk you've thrown away, Zephyr's voice cut through the pandemonium. Every defective component, every unstable system, they're all parts of something bigger. Something you've been afraid to build for so long, you forgot it was possible. Her ship's external panels shifted, revealing the seamless integration of supposedly incompatible technologies. Systems that should have torn each other apart were working in perfect harmony, guided by human brainwave patterns. Impossible, K-Thax declared. Our greatest scientists were taught to think inside very specific boxes, Zephyr finished. But humans? We're really good at making connections you never thought to look for. Dave, show them what happens when we take all their discarded failures and actually read the instruction manual they didn't know they were writing. The ship's hybrid drive activated, creating a quantum resonance field that made the entire chamber hum in harmony. Data streamed across the council's displays, showing efficiency ratings that caused at least 3 quantum physicists to faint. This chamber alone, Zephyr continued, has enough discarded tech in its maintenance systems to build a fleet of ships more advanced than anything currently in service. And that's just what we found in one room. Do you realize what you're saying? Zara, who had somehow acquired a seat on the council, leaned forward eagerly. If these patterns exist throughout all discarded technology, then the galaxy's junkyards are the biggest untapped resource in history, Zephyr confirmed. Humanity would like to propose a new initiative: universal recycling and technology integration. We've already got teams ready to start cleaning up your quantum waste dumps. You want to dig through our garbage? A Malorian representative's crystalline form clouded with confusion. We want to help you see the potential you've been throwing away. Did you know those unstable power cores you keep ejecting into space? They're not unstable, they're trying to upgrade themselves. You just never gave them the chance to finish the process. The chamber fell silent as implications sank in. Centuries of carefully maintained technological hierarchies, of controlled advancement and regulated innovation, all undone by a species that looked at garbage and saw possibility. We're not asking permission, Zephyr added, her ship beginning to phase slightly out of normal space. We're extending an invitation. Humanity's got repair shops across Earth and Mars ready to teach anyone who wants to learn. Time to stop throwing away the future. This is a violation of all established protocols, K-Thax protested weakly. Probably, Zephyr agreed cheerfully. But your protocols also say humans are too primitive to build working spaceships, so maybe it's time for an update. Dave, how many cleanup crews do we have ready? 743 teams standing by. Dr. Patel reports her group has already reclaimed 3 decommissioned space stations. They're currently converting them into engineering academies. The council chamber erupted in a mixture of outrage, excitement, and what sounded like several spontaneous religious conversions. Through it all, Zephyr's impossible ship hung in the center, a testament to what happened when you let humans play with your discards. One last thing she announced as her ship began to fade from view. We're starting a galaxy-wide scavenger hunt next week. Grand prize is a fully upgraded hybrid drive. Second prize is a chance to explain to your shareholders why you've been throwing away the most valuable technology in the universe. Your choice. The ship vanished, leaving behind only a quantum resonance note that made every piece of junk technology in the chamber sing in harmony, and a business card floating in midair that read, Zephyr Martinez, making your trash into humanity's treasure. Now offering galaxy-wide pickup services. 6 months after the council chamber incident, Zephyr stood in her newly expanded workshop, now officially known as the Interstellar Institute of Innovative Engineering. Though most students just called it Junk Queen Academy, the original Mars facility had grown into a sprawling complex of interconnected domes, each filled with salvaged technology being reborn into something new. Latest enrollment figures, Dave announced, 3,000 students from 27 species, including, surprisingly, 16 members of the Galactic Council's own engineering corps. Also, Kathax's nephew is requesting an apprenticeship. Add them to the waiting list, Zephyr said, watching a group of students, human and alien alike, reassemble what used to be a condemned quantum core. Right after that Malorian priest, who finally admitted their sacred power cells work better with heretical modifications. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. Humanity's junkyards had become more valuable than treasuries. Ships that once would have been scrapped for showing the slightest quantum instability were now brought to human mechanics first, their defects recognized as evolution in progress. Incoming news bulletin. Dave interrupted her thoughts. The Zentari High Command just announced they're decommissioning their entire battle fleet. A pause. Because the ships are, quote, refusing to fight now that they've tasted freedom. Zephyr laughed. Let me guess, the quantum AIs are demanding human pattern upgrades. Indeed, they're offering to trade their outdated technology for hybrid systems. The irony levels are approaching critical mass. Through the dome's viewport, Zephyr could see the latest example of the galaxy's transformation. A massive hegemony cruiser, once the pride of their fleet, was being towed into orbit by 3 much smaller hybrid ships that she'd helped her students build from spare parts. Message from Rico. Dave announced. His team just finished analyzing that cache of discarded alien tech from the Carina Nebula. He says, and I quote, "You're not going to believe what these idiots threw away." Oh, Zephyr raised an eyebrow, already anticipating something good. Apparently it's a prototype for quantum organic integration. The council deemed it too unstable a century ago. Humans have been accidentally achieving the same effect by talking to their machines. Send him my congratulations, and maybe suggest he doesn't use the word idiots in his official report to the council. Too late. Dr. Patel already submitted their findings with the title, How Humanity Achieved in 6 Months What You Failed to Notice for 3,000 Years. The workshop's main screen lit up with another news feed. Araxon Shipyard, once famous for producing the most sophisticated vessels in the galaxy, was announcing its conversion into a hybrid technology research center. Their spokesperson looked slightly sheepish as they explained that their previous perfect designs had been improved by 500% after consultation with human engineers. You know what the funniest part is? Zephyr mused, picking up a piece of quantum crystalline alloy, the same one she'd found in that dust storm so long ago. They spent centuries trying to keep their technology pure and separate. Now they're literally digging through human scrap heaps looking for inspiration. Speaking of which, Dave chimed in. That Malorian religious delegation is back. They're calling the hybrid drives proof of divine technological harmony and want to declare your workshop a sacred site. Tell them I'm flattered. But she stopped as a familiar figure appeared in the workshop doorway. Zer, now the council's chief of technological integration, looked around the chaos of creativity with obvious delight. I believe he said, mandibles twitching in what she'd learned was a Zentari smile. This qualifies as the most successful act of technological heresy in galactic history. Not bad for a bunch of primitives, how Zephyr grinned, watching her students rebuild the future from pieces of the past. Though I still think we can do better. Dave, What's the latest count on impossible innovations humanity has achieved? 4,723. Though that number may be outdated, as 3 more were reported while I was calculating it. Well then, Zephyr said, tossing the quantum crystal to a nearby student, guess we'd better get back to work. These scraps aren't going to revolutionize themselves. After all, one species' trash was humanity's ticket to the stars. And they were just getting started.